how can we make sure that people actually understand us when we are sharing information? I wanted to talk about this today because recently I had a conversation with a client of mine who told me that they had this presentation, a quite big and important one, and they could just see the audience shutting down. Like they were speaking and at some point they realized, okay, no one is even listening to me and they are completely lost in what I'm saying. So they tried some strategies to try to pull them back in, but it was too late. Overall, the feeling they got was that nothing that they said was landed really. Nothing that they said really made an impact on the people who were listening and who they needed an impact from and a reaction from. So why does this happen and why is this a problem? What I found that usually happens, what is the cause of this situation, is that we tend to share information in the same way we like to receive information. And that's a very common mistake because, of course, we are all different and we all retain information and perceive information in a different way. Which means, and it makes total sense, that we cannot all perceive and receive information in the same way. Specifically, when you're a STEM professional, so when you are an engineer, data scientist, or developer, for example, you are trained to retain information in a certain way. That way is what I like to call cause-consequence. So this happened, A causes B. B happened because of A. And this is something that we are trained to do, so it makes sense that we tend to share information the same way, thinking that other people also appreciate this kind of cause-consequence relationship between pieces of information and items. However, this is very often not the case. First of all, because not all people are the same. And secondly, because they are not STEM professionals. They are not trained to think in this cause-consequence sequence, right? So how can we do that? How can we solve that dissonance somehow between what we think they need and what they actually need? So the solution that will really work 100% of the time is to understand what your audience needs. Whether you're speaking to colleagues, collaborators, or some audiences in a conference, the first question you have to ask yourself is, what do these people care about? What's their motivation? Why are they even here in this meeting? What piece of information can I share and can I tell them so that they feel that they have left the meeting with some sort of added value, right? So that's the very first thing that we need to understand. And in order to do that, we really need to develop this skill of perceiving and understanding how other people retain and perceive information. And this is something that is not easy at all, and anyone who has ever taught a class, so any teacher or professor, can tell you that's very, very complicated, because all of a sudden you are there in the hierarchy, right? The person who has the information, that has the knowledge, and then you have people who don't have the knowledge but want it. So how are you going to share it? You have to adjust to many different personalities, to many different ways of perceiving and actually storing information. So you have to sort of juggle and adjust to that. The same thing, like the same exercise, is what is required for us when we want our work to be perceived and actually understood by people who are listening to us. It's the same exercise, it's the same skill that we have to somehow hone in order to be able to do so. So in the moment, once you develop that skill, you will be able to almost in the moment switch from the way you like to store and perceive information to the way you feel will fit best to your audience or to some certain members of the audience, your colleagues, your peers, and so on. And why would you even want to learn this skill? So first of all, because it will make your life much easier. Once you're able to understand, okay, person A needs me to say this thing in that way, it's going to be much easier for you to prepare meetings, to prepare reports, everything that has to do with that person. Imagine a stakeholder, or maybe your boss, or maybe some collaborators, or some people who have some money and you want to apply for funding. So when you understand what is their motivation, like why are they sitting there? Why are they even sitting there in the audience? What is this motivation that they have, and what is this knowledge they are seeking, and what is the part, right, the knowledge part that they want from you to share with them in order to understand what is it that you are actually doing. So first of all, it would make your life much easier, and second of all, everything becomes much more natural and much quicker, because you don't need to be there in your room, in your office, when you are preparing your presentation for hours without knowing what to say, because you will somehow know what is it that those people need, and you will start thinking directly in that sense, right? So I am serving those people. I'm here to share my information with those people, and my only goal is for them to understand me. And that's something that is, I would say, even priceless in terms of career advancement, in terms of recognition, and especially in terms of funding, if you're seeking for the funding for your project or something similar. So having said that, I wanted to invite you to my coaching program, in which we do exactly that. So we transform the way you communicate with others, especially as STEM professional communicating to others who are not necessarily STEM professionals and who don't share the same structure of information that we as STEM professionals are trained to follow and to use. So if this sounds interesting to you, I will leave a link down below in the description where you can schedule a completely free discovery call with me, where we can talk about your struggles, your challenges that you're facing right now in your STEM career, and of course, see if we are a good fit to work together. So I hope you found this video useful, and see you next time in another video. Bye bye.